Hello everyone, I'm Cindy Winget, the author of Gothic Horror Mashups. Welcome to my channel. So today's video we're going to be doing a reading vlog of Grady Hendrix's new book entitled Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And then I'm going to tier rank all of the books that I've read from Grady Hendrix. I have read all of his books except for, what is it called? Something about souls. We lost our souls or something like that. Anyways, I don't plan on ever reading that one because I'm just not that interested in it, to be honest. But I will go ahead and tier rank all the rest of his books because I have read them all at this point. And then, of course, do a reading vlog of this new one. And man, this one is chunky. It's like nearly 500 pages. Let's see. Yeah, it's 483 pages, so you know, it's pretty big. She's a chunky gal. But anyways, I was really excited for this one because the cover is gorgeous and I love Grady Hendrix. And on all the booktube channels that I watched, it had very low ratings or like very lukewarm sentiments about this book. And so it got me nervous because I'm like, oh no, what if it's not good? But then on Instagram, a lot of people have been loving this book. And so I was like, okay, well, that's good to know. You know, apparently it's like right down the middle of people that like it or don't like it. And so I'm anxious to see where I fall. So I got thinking about it, and most of the booktubers that I watch are child-free by choice. And most of the Instagram people that have been liking this book do have children. And so that got me thinking, because I know this book is heavily about girls being pregnant and having children. That's like the main premise of the book. And so that got me thinking that maybe that's the difference between liking this book and not liking this book is, you know, if you don't want kids, and this has a lot of talk about pregnancy and birthing and all of that stuff, then maybe this isn't your thing. But when you have children, you know, it's a whole different experience. And so because I do have children, I'm hoping that this one's really going to work for me. So this one takes place in the 70s, and this is about a group of girls who get pregnant out of wedlock, you know, which was shameful and you shouldn't do that. And so their families, out of shame and embarrassment, would send their girls to like a place where they can have their kids away from the public eye. So very interesting, but you know, it's the witchcraft for wayward girls. So obviously these girls are going to be part of some kind of witchy coven. I don't know how that's all going to play out. So I'm excited to see those aspects of the book. I don't know if the witchy part's going to take a back seat to the social commentary part or if it's going to play a bigger role. So I guess we'll find out. So yeah, I'm very excited to get to this. I'm actually going out to dinner with a friend tonight. We're going to a Chinese buffet place. But when I get back, I'll go ahead and dive right in, and I'll probably let you know tomorrow my thoughts on how far I get. Okay, I'm here for an update. I'm about a third of the way in. I'm on page 100. And I like it so far, but I haven't seen any kind of witchy elements to this. Even though it's called Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, there hasn't been any mention of witches at all. But I kind of have a theory. If you don't want to hear my theory, then go ahead and fast forward like 30 seconds. Obviously, this isn't a spoiler because I have no idea if I'm right or not. But I was under the assumption that the girls were going to be the witches, but then I got thinking about it and I'm like, maybe not. Maybe it's going to be more of an evil witch, and maybe, you know, because witchcraft is so tied to midwives and babies and old crones, all this kind of stuff, that maybe instead of the girls, maybe the people running these houses for pregnant mothers where they're hiding them to have their babies, perhaps they're the witches and they're stealing these babies for nefarious reasons instead of giving them up for adoption like they said they were. So that's my theory. We'll see if I'm right. So Grady Hendrix, he always has some humor in his books, but some of the humor in this is funny, but not really to my taste. So it's like body humor, you know, like fart jokes. So our main character is sitting in bed one night and her roommate is just letting it rip and farting all over the place, and she's like saying, oh, she did that last one on purpose and it makes her cry. Which is kind of funny, but at the same time makes me want to roll my eyes. It's just not really my type of humor. But one part that I did find humorous and is my kind of humor, there was a part where they were telling like what the excuse is for every girl that came to this house, you know, and so it would be like, Rose came here because of such and such a reason, but her family said she's with her aunt in Maine trying to help her because she's ill, or Ginger is really here because of blah blah blah, but her family's telling everybody that her aunt is moving and she needs help, or whatever, you know. But it's always like the aunt is sick, the aunt needs help, you know, she's always living with the aunt for the summer. And so it's just funny because then our main character Fern, she's like, man, if you don't have an aunt, you know, you're kind of up a creek. So I just thought that was pretty funny. And then one part that's pretty gross, I just barely read in the last chapter, and Fern needs to have an iron supplement to help the baby be healthy, and what that entails is basically a cow liver milkshake. So she gets a cow liver that's been blended up with milk, and she has to drink it. And the way they describe it and everything is so disgusting. And, you know, she's pregnant, you know, like where smells and textures and different things can make you throw up anyways. Like, ooh, I could not. So that was pretty disgusting. But anyways, there's a lot of girls thrown at you, and I have a hard time keeping them all straight in my brain. So like certain ones will stick out, like Rose, or I can't remember her name, but her other roommate, she's the youngest one there. She's only 14 and she hasn't spoken a word since she got there. And then maybe like one or two other girls, but most of the other ones, they're just names. Like I don't know who they are. They just all blend together. But anyways, I like it so far. I mean, I'm not that far into it. In a normal book, 100 pages would be fairly far into it, but where this book is so long, you know, it feels like I'm just barely getting started. So anyways, I'll probably get about halfway through and then I'll update you again.
If we had cable, we'd have like 60 channels.
We have plenty of channels.
We have 7.
Hey, there are starving kids in Africa with no channels.
Come on, it don't cost much.
I'm not paying for television. Television is free. Always was, always will be.
So cheap.
If you want cable, pay for it yourself. Or better yet, try to turn that thing off and go read a book.
Read a book?
TV's asking me for some kind of code.
Yeah, that's the parental control lock.
So how do I take it off?
You don't. This is my cable that I bought with my money.
You gotta be kidding me.
Here's an idea. How about you go read a book?
Okay guys, I've made it about halfway, so I'm here for another update. So this one is very much a slow burn when it comes to the witchy elements. I finally am at the part where the witch elements come into play, but it takes over 100 pages to get there, so just bear that in mind. We have a new character that showed up. Her name is Zinnia, and she's the only black girl that's at this home for wayward girls, and so she shows up and they all kind of stare at her at first, you know. But anyway, so Zinnia and our main character Fern, and then Holly, who is this 14-year-old who doesn't say a word. I think I mentioned her in my first update, but I'm not sure. And then Rose, she's a bit of a hippie, you know, all about going against the man and the establishment and all of that. So these are our main 4 girls. So you don't really need to keep track of all the girls. That was confusing me at the beginning, where I was like, okay, there's all these girls and I don't know anything about any of them. You don't really need to know anything about the rest of the girls. Those are our 4 main girls, and they become, you know, the coven for this book. I will admit though, as much as I am enjoying this book, I think it is starting to get a little bit long. I don't think this book needed to be almost 500 pages, because the middle part's starting to kind of be like, okay, like let's get going, let's go somewhere else. So, and the witchy elements, I don't know, I'm just not really connecting to them that much. I enjoyed our wayward girls, I enjoyed learning about the home and, you know, all of that stuff, but when it comes to the witchy elements, I'm just not really connecting to it that much. So that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping that I was gonna like that aspect a lot more than I am, but I still have a whole nother half of the book to go, so we'll see how I get on with it. I probably won't update you again until I've finished the book. Hi everyone, I just got out of Barnes & Noble and I already showed you the 4 books that I got from there. But I also had to run to Target before I went to Barnes & Noble, and I found a book there as well, so I thought I'd share it. So I got, what is it called? All Better Now by Neil Shusterman. And I love Neil Shusterman. I love Scythe. I love Unwind. I love his ghost one. I can't really think what it's called right now. Everwild or something like that. Anyways, I love Neil Shusterman, and I had no idea that he had a new book out until I just stumbled upon it, and I'm so excited. So yay! Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you.
Never really know what's going on. Look at me sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart so slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my air.
Hello everyone. I have finished Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And while I liked this one, this isn't like a new favorite of mine from Grady Hendrix. So when I had the update last time, I said that Zinnia was the only black girl there. And while that's true, what I meant is she was the only black pregnant girl there. Because the cook and her sister Miriam, they're both black, so she's not the only black person there. She's just the only one that was there for the same reason as everybody else. Not that it really matters, but I just thought I'd clarify for those who have read this book and are like, wait a minute, you know. And speaking of the cook, I loved Hagar. I thought she was the only decent adult in this book. Most of the adults in this book are pretty despicable people, and I did not like them, but Hagar was the only one that really tried to help and was a genuinely good person, even if she was a little grouchy. So I enjoyed that at least one of them was decent. Diane had a moment where she was kind of decent, but for the most part, not so much. But anyways, so just so you're aware, when our main character does finally give birth and have her baby, it's pretty horrific. So I don't know if it was better or worse because I've already had children of my own, and so I could really relate to it, and it brought back all these memories of when I was in labor. But at the same time, you know, she's a 15-year-old girl. She's doing it alone. She doesn't have a husband with her or family with her. And these doctors didn't tell her anything that was going on and what to expect. They just started doing stuff. And I just can't imagine how terrified she was. So that was pretty horrific. So just be aware of that going in. And then as far as like the witchcraft stuff, I think that ended up being my least favorite part of this book, unfortunately. So it was kind of ironic because in the beginning, you know, we're mostly getting to know about this home for pregnant girls. And I was really enjoying it. But at the same time, I was like, okay, where's the witchy elements? You know, we're 100 pages in and they haven't even mentioned any witchy stuff. So then the witchy stuff started to happen and it kind of took over the story for most of it. And I don't know, I couldn't really get totally invested with the witchcraft stuff. I'm not really sure why. And so this book started to feel really long. I'll admit by the halfway point, I was like, okay, you know, let's get going. It just felt super long. But then when it went back to like the pregnancy stuff in the home and all that stuff, I got reinvested. And so that kind of proved that it was more the witchy elements that I just wasn't vibing with. I don't know why that is. I will say though that this is not nice witchcraft. This is evil old world witchcraft, which I really appreciate. You know, I'm the same way when it comes to vampires. I like the more evil entities that come with that rather than like the Twilight vampires. And so same with the witchcraft. I liked that it wasn't good, But at the same time, I don't know, I just wasn't really into the witchcraft part very much, unfortunately. And that was like a big part of the story. Not a new favorite. I did think it was too long. You know, this is almost 500 pages, and the last 200 pages, I was kind of like, okay, let's wrap things up. But I did enjoy it. So even though the middle part of this book was a little bit long for me, the last third of this book really hit me in the feels. I have some personal experience with adoption. Not because of me, but because my brother and sister are both adopted. So my mom and dad, they tried to have kids for years, and my mom went through 7 miscarriages, which I can't even imagine. I've gone through 1, so I know how hard it is, and to have done that 7 times, I couldn't go that long. I couldn't try that many times. After like the 3rd one, I would just be done. But I'm glad she didn't stop, because then I wouldn't be here, because I was her little miracle baby, and I was born 2 months early. I only weighed 2 pounds and 4 ounces. And it's funny because my mom's actually a twin, and her twin went through the exact same thing. Tons of miscarriages. And then had my cousin Jason, who was only 1 pound and 11 ounces. Again, born way, way earlier than should have been, but we both survived. And we actually grew up like best friends. Like, he was one of my best friends growing up. So really, really awesome. So I wouldn't have a brother and sister, and my cousin also wouldn't have his brother if not for adoption. So I'm understandably very for adoption. But in this book, it wasn't really a choice for these girls. They pretty much had to give them up for adoption. That was kind of the agreement that they took on when they went to this home was, you know, you're going to give up your kid for adoption. And I like how they showed that even though they recognized that this was probably best for their child, and it was also best for them because, you know, our main character was only 15, and it would be really hard to raise a child by yourself at that age, you know. So even though giving it up for adoption was the best for everyone around, I like that it showed how hard it is, though, and how difficult it is to have that little baby in your arms and see their perfect little features and feel the weight of them and then have to give them away. And as someone who has had children, like, I can't even imagine how hard that was. And so I really appreciated Grady Hendrix showing, you know, how hard and difficult it was for these girls to give up their babies, even though it was best for them. And it probably was best for the kid, you know, just to show how hard it was. And then, you know, they have different reasons why these girls were here. And so I'm glad it showed like the different reasons why they might be in the position that they were in. And I just thought he did a really good job for being a childless man. Obviously, he got a lot of input from the women in his family. It even says that some people in his family actually went to one of these homes. So yeah, I was just glad to see like more aspects of it instead of just like one. So anyways, it hit me in the feels, and especially like the last third of this book. My brother never had any interest in finding his birth parents or his birth mother at all. But my sister, when she was about 30, she actually did one of those DNA tests, and she actually got in contact with her birth mother. And now she hangs out with her family all the time. And I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first because I was a little bit protective of my mom, and I didn't want it to make her feel bad, like she's not her real mom, you know. But she seemed okay with it, and she's happy for my sister, and my sister gets to hang out with her, well, real family. But I mean, I would say that we're her real family, but you know what I mean, her biological family. So I thought it was really cool that she was able to reconnect with them, you know, and it was the same type of situation where her mom was a teenager and, you know, gave her up. But I'm just so glad that they were able to reconnect later in life. I just thought that was really cool. It makes me hard to rate this book because the beginning and the end were really good, but it's the whole like middle part that I was kind of not really meh on, but it just wasn't my favorite. Like, I liked all the pregnancy stuff. I liked the historical. I liked being in the 70s, all this stuff. But I just didn't really care for the witchy stuff, and there was a lot of witchy stuff in the middle. And like I say, this book is really long. And so I'm conflicted because up until the end, I would have been like, you know, whatever, like 3 stars. But that ending just really hit me in the feels, so then I had to bump it up. So I don't know if I'm going to bump it all the way up to 4 stars, or if maybe it's like a 3.5 star. But yeah, either way, I really did enjoy this book. I really did. But it's not my favorite Grady Hendrix book. So let's go ahead and do my ranking and see where it falls in the list of other Grady Hendrix books for me. So my number one Grady Hendrix, which I don't see ever being knocked out of first place because I just loved it so much, is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I just thought this was so creative and so unique and so good. This is about Southern ladies that are part of a book club, and they invite a man to book club one day and discover that maybe he's not exactly human. So I thought this was really fun. I love the description because Grady Hendrix says that he wrote this book based on his mom and how he thought she would handle a vampire. So I just thought that was really cute. But yeah, I don't think this will ever be knocked out of first place for me, if I'm being honest. I just love this book so much. Definitely 5 stars. And then we have My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I can't seem to locate my copy of it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it up on the screen. But this would probably be my next one. I love this book mostly for the nostalgia. It has a lot of like 80s references and takes place in the 80s, and you know, I liked being in that time period again. It was really nice, and so that's why this one probably takes the second place. This one was a little too straightforward to me. I was hoping there'd be a little bit something different to it than just a natural exorcism story, and some of the writing was a little bit weird when it came to our main character. I have no idea to explain what I mean, but there was just certain like dialogue and certain decisions that she made which just seemed a little bit weird. But again, I can't really explain it. But outside of that, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really fun. And then next up is How to Sell a Haunted House. And this one, it's a pretty slow burn to begin with, because we have this woman and her brother, and their parents had just passed away, and they're trying to figure out, you know, who inherits the house and all of their parents' possessions and different things, and divvy it up. And her brother's kind of a butthead. And so it was a lot of just like bickering back and forth between these two siblings for like the first third of the book, which I didn't exactly mind. Like, it didn't make me want to not read it or anything. But after a while, it was like, okay, move on, go to something else, get into the horror elements. So it was almost like Wayward Girls in that respect, because it just takes a little bit to get to the horror elements, and it takes a little bit to really get into the story and know what the story is going to be about. So once we got into the horror aspects, though, I really enjoyed this one. It was really bizarre and really weird, but I liked it. I thought it was fun, and I thought it was unique. There was one aspect about Spider, if you know, you know. I thought that was really weird and didn't make sense and probably should have been taken out. But outside of that, I thought this was a fun, enjoyable read. So both My Best Friend's Exorcism and How to Sell a Haunted House would be 4-star reads for me. And then coming at 3.5 stars would come Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. So this one, again, enjoyable, but didn't love it. And I did think it was a little overly long, but this would be my next favorite Grady Hendrix book. And then next would be The Final Girl Support Group. And I'd probably give this one about a 2.5 stars. I didn't really care for it, but I mean, it wasn't like the most horrible thing I've read. So that's why it's not a 2. 2.5 is just like right down the middle, which basically it's just like, nah, not really for me. So this, as the title suggests, is about final girls, and they have been part of something traumatic, and so they become part of this support group. And I think that's honestly the part that annoyed me the most about this book, is you have these girls who are in this very niche group of people that might relate and understand what they're going through, and they're so like combative to each other and mean to each other, and I was just surprised by that. Like, I thought they would be helping each other and they would become friends, and that's what I thought this book was going to be about. But no, they like don't even like each other. They don't want to associate with each other, and so that was just pretty annoying. And then I kind of got bored with the whole trying to stay safe from the new bad guy that might be coming after me type thing, because I've seen it done in other books pretty similarly to this one. And so it's something I've already read, and it was like a lot of the book, and so I just got bored. And so yeah, I mean, it had some good moments. On the whole, I just didn't really care for this one. It just wasn't really for me. And then next we have Ankle Snatcher, And this is actually just a short story. It's very short. It's only like 25 pages long. So I did enjoy this one quite a bit, but it was never going to make it higher on the list because it's not an actual novel. But as is the case of most short stories, it didn't have a satisfying ending. And that's the one thing I hate about short story collections is they just never feel satisfying because it's too short to really do much other than just like peter out, you know, which just isn't my favorite. So I did enjoy it for what it was, but I never come away satisfied with the ending generally of short stories. So that's a bummer. And then we have Horror Store. And I believe this is his debut novel, and it shows. I didn't think this was very good. I actually DNF'd it, which is surprising because it's super short. It's not even 300 pages, but I just couldn't do it. I got halfway through and I was like, nah, I'm done. So I thought the writing was really weak in this one. I thought the characters were very stereotypical type characters. I thought it was really fun in the beginning because this is like a catalog from IKEA, but it's actually like a Norwegian store or something. I think it's Norwegian. Well, it says it takes place in Ohio, but the name of the store and the way that Horror Store is written is not American. But anyways, so this I thought was a really fun concept, and I really loved it in the beginning because it was just kind of fun, you know. It was kind of satirical in a way because it's, you know, these employees that work at this big furniture store, and you know, all the funny antics that comes with that. And you have like the supervisor that's like strict and really believes in the store, and our main character who's just like normal you know, and doesn't want to deal with his antics or whatever. But and then it turns into like the store being haunted, which I thought was really fun. But I don't know, the haunting itself just didn't do it for me. I thought it was weird and bizarre. It wasn't scary, and I don't know, I couldn't get into it. And like I say, the writing and the characters just weren't well written in my opinion. So about halfway through, I'm like, I told myself to continue on because it is so short, but then I was like, why do that to myself? If I'm already not enjoying it, I know I'm not going to enjoy it, then why bother? But when I do DNF books, I have this thing where I have to read the last couple of chapters. I can't just DNF it because I just want to know the ending. So I did go ahead and read the last part and was like, eh. You know, probably glad that I stopped. One thing that I do like though is throughout the story, let me see if I can find it. They have like, you know, because it's a catalog, it shows, you know, furniture, like a table or a couch or whatever. You know, you can buy a cabinet. But then as the story goes on, the pictures start turning into like torture devices. So I thought that was really funny and really clever. So it's like you'd have this benign little chair, but then in the next chapter it has like restraints. So I thought that was really funny, and I like how the front is like very colorful and friendly, but then on the pictures you have like horror elements. But then if you turn it over, then it's like all horror. But so I really like the concept of this book, and I really like the book itself. Although I will admit I don't like the size of this book because it's not a normal width and length of a book. And so when it's sitting on your shelves, it like pokes out way longer than the rest of your books. And it was actually hard to hold. Like when I was trying to hold it to read it, it was like hurting my hands and stuff. But anyway, so it was just kind of hard for my hands to hold it, and it looks stupid on the shelf. Even though I think it's funny that it's the same size and shape as a catalog, I just don't really like it at the same time as a novel. So yeah, this has to be the bottom because I didn't even finish reading it. So that's all the books I've read by Grady Hendrix, and I'd be interested to know in the comments below what your favorite Grady Hendrix book is and how you felt about his newest release. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you like this video to let me know. I post videos every Friday, and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.